Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Meet the Faculty. I am Robert Dedvukaj, and I'm joined today by Nora Krinitsky. Nora, how are you?
I am doing well. Thank you, Robert.
That's good. I just first, I just want to get right into it. What made you want to become a lecturer? What made you want to come to the University of Michigan? And I guess, what kind of drives you in your career?
Yeah. I wanted to become a lecturer. I wanted to teach at the college level, really because I loved being a student. I wanted to stay in the classroom. I wanted to keep learning. I really love working through complex ideas with other people. And so that was what really motivated me to stay in higher education after having been a student.
Yeah, and I guess, how did you come to be part of the RC, and what has your experience in it been like?
So I got my PhD at the University of Michigan from the history department. I finished that degree in 2017. And after that, I was looking for a position that would allow me to teach as well as do important community engagement and advocacy work on issues that are important to me, including criminal justice reform, um, criminalization and policing. And I also, having done my PhD at Michigan, was really invested in the community here. It's more typical for people to finish their graduate degrees and then pick up, uproot themselves and move up to a new community. But I really wanted to stay. So I was really fortunate to have a number of mentors in the RC who saw an alignment between my experience and the work happening in the social theory and practice program, as well as the prison creative arts program. So a few years after having finished my PhD, I was really grateful to join the RC. And in terms of my experience here, it's really been incredibly positive. The RC, I'm just grateful to be in a place that really values community engagement and has a number of different programs that foreground social justice issues, building sustainable relationships with community partners. And that part of the work is really important to me. And so seeing how valued it is in the RC has been really gratifying.
Yeah, and I think people in the RC, their first main introduction to this community is their first year seminar. And you happen to teach one of those called Downtown America, 20th Century US Urban History. Could you just kind of give like a light overview or description of the class and what you cover in it?
Mhm. Yeah, so my first year seminar covers the major developments in 20th century US urban history. So that includes massive immigration and Black migration to urban centers. It includes the long history of racial segregation of our cities and various efforts to challenge that, to challenge the color line. We also spend a lot of time thinking about urban inequality and movements for justice throughout the 20th century. So I think of it as kind of a highlights reel of urban history in the 20th century US.
Yeah, and I think this is an interesting segue into another class that you teach called RC Social Science 360, Histories of Race and Law. I guess, could you kind of go into that class as well? And like, what should a student expect to learn about these like really rich, kind of deep, meaningful topics?
Histories of Race and Law is my upper level seminar in the Social Theory and Practice program. And this class takes a close look at how the law has been integral to constructing ideas about race, racial inequality, and racial hierarchy um, from the 19th century through the present day. We spend time studying critical race theory, settler colonialism, other really foundational scholarly frameworks for understanding how the law has really served as a tool of oppression for people of color, communities of color throughout the United States or throughout the 19th and 20th centuries. The course is largely, as you can tell from the title, based in historical scholarship. But one thing that I really value is how my students make really insightful connections between our readings and our current moment, and thinking about the law's ongoing role in reifying inequality and how we can change that.
Yeah, and I guess going from history into the present nowadays, you do taught or teach another class, RC Social Science 250, Policing Power and Protest in the United States. Could you also just give a quick explanation or description of that class and what you talk about in it?
Yeah, so Policing Power and Protest is a class that, essentially looks at our current moment in the crisis of policing in the United States. We do some historical readings, thinking about the origins of policing, historical examples of police violence or discrimination. But much of the class is focused on materials that were created recently or pertain to our contemporary moment. So we read together a book called Separated by Bill Lopez, who's also at the University of Michigan, about the intersection of immigration deportation and policing. We read articles by contemporary activists and police abolitionists. We watch documentaries about one film we watched together is Whose Streets, a documentary about activists in Ferguson, Missouri. And so really my goal in that class is, again, to give students or to work together with students to develop our skills to really be able to understand the current moment that we're in and think about ways forward.
Yeah, and I think those watching would probably be thinking right now, one can't really talk about race, the history of race and legality and policing in America without also talking about the prison industrial complex. And so this brings me to the Prison Creative Art Project that you are a director of. Could you just go into that a little bit, what students do in this club, and I guess what are kind of the goals and purposes of this?
Yeah. So the Prison Creative Arts Project is the longest running prison arts program, certainly in the country and perhaps in the world. We're now in our 32nd year, I believe, and PCAP for short does creative arts programming in every prison in Michigan in some capacity. And we are a curricular program as well as a student organization. One of our signature programs is our weekly creative arts workshops. So these are workshops that run the course of a semester and happen typically inside prisons that are in Southeast Michigan. Facilitators, including students and other community volunteers, lead a workshop in prison in theater, creative writing, music, or visual art. And the workshop comes together, collaborates for the course of the semester, and together produces a final performance or showcase of their work. We've had to really significantly alter this program in the age of COVID-19, as you can probably imagine. And so for the last year and a half, we've been doing weekly workshops through the mail, through our correspondence workshop program. So they're structured similarly, but all of the workshop participants are exchanging their materials through the mail. Our other kind of signature program is the annual exhibition of art by Michigan prisoners. And this year, we will curate and mount the 26th annual exhibition. And so to create these shows, our curator group visits every prison in the state to meet with artists, to view the work they've made in the previous year, to select pieces to exhibit at the University of Michigan. And that exhibition happens for 2 weeks in March. The first annual exhibition, 26 years ago, I think exhibited around 100, maybe fewer than 100 pieces. Our most recent exhibition exhibited more than 800. So this is really a testament to the productivity, the creativity of artists inside prison, as well as the important role of the exhibition itself in encouraging art makers inside. PCAP has a couple of other important programs as well. We also publish an annual literary review. And so creative writers in every prison in the state are invited to submit their writing, short stories, poetry, creative nonfiction, you name it. And our faculty editor and student and volunteer editorial team reads the submissions, selects pieces for publication, but they also send a letter back to every person who submitted with some critical feedback. And this is such an important part of the process because it's really a way for PCAP to help foster writers inside. It's also pretty remarkable among literary reviews to send feedback to everyone who has submitted, not only those who've been selected for publication.
Yeah, I did want to move on to another point. People may or may not know, you are the co-chair for the Ann Arbor campus Leo Union. So recently, Leo has won this huge victory in their negotiating with their contract with the University of Michigan. I guess, could you kind of explain, give us a quick rundown of what that whole experience was like, and also what was won and why students at the university should really care about Leo and what it's striving for?
Well, I'll say I'm still in shock following the victory, so I'll try and be articulate in answering this question. But yeah, the Lecturer Employees Organization represents lecturers at the University of Michigan on all 3 campuses. And as the co-chair of the Ann Arbor campus, it's my job to help organize Ann Arbor lecturers, bring them into the union, identify their issues, help solve workplace problems, and generally support Ann Arbor lecturers. So Leo, we've just concluded our most recent contract campaign. We had been bargaining with the university since mid-January, so it was a long campaign. For the most part, we would bargain weekly, and ultimately it was mass mobilization of lecturers on all 3 campuses that got us across the finish line and helped us achieve some really major victories in this campaign. First and foremost among them is parity in starting pay among lecturers at all 3 campuses, Ann Arbor, Dearborn, and Flint. Flint and Dearborn lecturers have been underpaid, paid less than Ann Arbor lecturers, a difference anywhere from $20,000 to $10,000, depending on the year and the position. It was a really unconscionable inequality. And, I would say shameful for the university that disparity in pay went on for as long as it did for decades. So Leo's work to correct that disparity, it sets a critical precedent for equal support and funding among the 3 campuses, as well as having real immediate impacts in improving lecturers' lives in Dearborn and Flint. There are many other victories that I won't be able to rattle off the top of my head, but support for lecturer professional development, for teaching needs, for we had also victories in controlling lecturers' workload, the work they take on, which can balloon very quickly, as many of my union siblings know. And so, I think what I'm most proud of is that we have an agreement, a collective bargaining agreement, that is going to make very real, immediate, and long-term improvements in the lives and working conditions of lecturers at the University of Michigan.
Thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed this interview. I think it was very informative, very meaningful, very cool. So yeah, have a great day, okay?
Thanks so much, Robert. You too.